Greetings. Welcome to a brand new episode of Art Matters with Wayne Quackenbush. I'm Wayne Quackenbush, and I'm the host and also the president of the Portsmouth Arts Guild, and I also show artwork from local artists in my place in Newport. Today we have a couple of very interesting guests. Our first guest is Kelly Rafferty. Kelly, welcome to the show. And you and I have known each other for quite a long time. I remember you as being quite shy and retiring the first time we met. You were looking for a copy of Kurosawa's The Seven Samurai. There was a break in our contact, and then you ended up showing in one of the pop-up art shows that I used to do, and I would remember you vividly saying that with the mix of artists we had at that show, that you were the only normal artist here.
You named me the only normal artist, and I think I was a little bit offended by that title, as a matter of fact.
Well, yes, because normalcy is not where you come from usually.
I try not to come from there, but there was a period that I was more or less a normal artist.
And you're a photographer, and you're a painter. You work in lots of different media. I found out actually just today that you're self-taught. What inspired you to go into the ventures that you have? You also owned a couple of galleries, which we'll talk about in a bit too.
My earliest inspiration, honestly, was my grandmother reading me Mother Goose as a kid. She taught me all my Mother Goose, and they of course were vividly illustrated.
Right.
So I was encouraged both. I wanted to be able to read them, but I adore the illustrations. And my earliest memories of me creating art were me drawing on paper bags from the grocery store.
That's a perfect medium because you have your nice mid-tone to work on.
Yep, and also I was so detailed as a child that it surprised me that I drew the rose leaves with the serrated edges and so many petals on the roses, and even thorns. And I can still remember doing that, and if we were taught to go up and draw balloons, how many balloons is one balloon plus two balloons, I would even draw like the little triangles, because I knew that balloons would fly away without them having those little triangles, the little ties on the ends of them. I don't know.
Yeah, I get you. Right, of course.
Yeah, so, the knot. And so I would just do that automatically. I noticed details as a child. So,
well,
and I enjoyed it.
Your interests are really wide-ranging, and from what I can gather, you're very interested in telling a story in your work.
I do like, well, with the artwork, yes, I like with the artwork proper. It is more narrative, and with the photography, it is more fleeting light, or more. I try to get a more a dramatic light, and scenes that are peopleless, which is
Does the light equal an emotion to you? Are you bringing that across sometimes?
Well, sometimes there is not going to be another time that where it looks like that.
Capturing the moment.
Yes, and and sometimes people don't see a certain scene like that. Yeah, it's nice to see these places in moments. that people don't ordinarily get to see them.
Yeah.
And it being the tourist season, it's often crowded. And to see these landmarks when it's not crowded, people don't get a chance to take their own pictures of them.
Right.
When there are no people around.
You had a unique perspective on the tourist trade in Rhode Island when you had your galleries, and I can just imagine the frantic nature and the sense of acquisition that people must have had when they came in, and they wanted to take something away with them that they were visiting on their vacation. So you've already kind of clarified what part of that would be. Do you want to show some of your artwork and we can kind of illustrate what you're talking about?
Well, I don't have well, I do have some pieces of what people showing pieces in a different perspective than they'd normally see.
No, that's Newport, right?
This is Newport. This is up Toro Street in Newport, and this is across from the Historical Society. And
is that is that at twilight or?
This is a twilight shot. This is I was going out actually. Being in a gallery, you don't have time. You can't run a gallery as a land seascape photographer and expect also to be running a gallery and going out and taking photography. So
unless you're specializing in night work,
you have to really take that time out, and you have to take those days off and hope that it's going to be a good day, or you have to close up the gallery,
right?
And say, well, the heck with it. I might have to lose some business and go and.
This is off of.
This is actually. I believe this is my birthday, and somebody took me out on my birthday. And
so you took this from a boat?
I took this.
Well, happy
on
birthday!
A boat, off a boat, and it just the light was changing. I love the cloud.
Well, yeah, the clouds are very painterly. In fact, the whole thing has a
There is
feel.
There is one where the flyer is more centered, but I like that.
Let's keep moving the picture so we can get as many in as possible.
Yeah, what I liked about that is that there's some conflict that it's not centered. This one I like the contrast of this, and the Adirondack chairs are very New England.
They're very symbolic of the time and the place, absolutely.
And pattern and land and seascapes were more my thing. This one is more experimental, and I don't know if you can see the blue stripes. That was experimental, and that the blue stripes are an accident of the film processing. And
of course.
I decided, well, let's go with
that. So you're shooting actual film, but you also mix it up with digital too.
No, this is not digital.
No, that's not digital, but you have taken digital pictures.
Oh, no. These are all film.
Okay.
Film. Lately, I've been doing digital collages with your group.
Well, yes, you participate in the daily challenge that we put up in the Facebook group, the NX Art Society.
I love digital collage.
And that is designed to shake up the creative juices, so to speak.
I love.
And you take the words and you let them percolate in your mind, and you come up with an image, and you get it down. And the trick is to make it a daily kind of meditative practice.
Yeah.
Which I've seen you do.
Yes. Yeah, I love it. I love it. This is a color pencil piece with ink, and I think that I was probably inspired by one of
Do you
their
remember what
daily.
the prompt might have been?
No, but I was inspired by the prompt, but re-inspired. So I
Because
did
that's
something else.
that's very vivid. It could be in a illustrated book, a children's book.
I have I want to do something else with this. This was one of the few that I did use reference. I was picking up some Chinese food,
Okay.
and there was a white koi in the aquarium, and I just started.
Yeah, I think I might know where that restaurant might be.
Yeah, Ming Moon. I had to go to Ming Moon, and the poor koi has passed away since. But this is one of four quick sketches that I was able to do, and then I did finish it off, and I know its eyes are a little wild.
Keep showing your work, but I can't let you get away without expressing how knowledgeable you are on so many subjects. Every time we have a conversation, we're going from anthropology to biblical history to lots of medical news. We talk about medical stuff a lot.
This one is from the Orwell prompt. The clocks start
right.
13.
Yes. Yeah, we did it in 1984.
1984.
Absolutely.
This is from the
It's
group.
a very timely piece.
And yeah, that's it.
If you tell somebody something enough times, you're going to start believing it, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
So yes, indeed, it can be 13 o'clock.
Color pencil and ink. And I really like this piece still. And this was prompted by the Annex group. It was fun. It was fun to do. And this is the last piece I'm going to show today. Is
Well,
I've been enjoying doing.
I think you might have some sketchbook stuff too.
Oh, I do. I
Okay.
just finished a few pieces, but this is a mermaid piece. I've been doing some mermaids and some. I have some ideas for some other pieces that I'm going to be doing, some
Now,
other projects.
Think about this for a second. What is the mental connection between your lighthearted kind of lyrical drawings and then your photographs? I mean, do you have a sense of them coming from the same place, or?
No, because you can take a photograph of something real, and you can also take a photograph and you can make it look Photoshopped. I just finished this the other day.
Oh, nice.
I'm trying to do some abstract pieces, and I like how this came out.
Is this the Prismacolors, or this looks like a mix of watercolor and color pencil?
This is color pencil, and with the blend. I love the blending pencil. Nobody tells you about the blending pencil.
No, you
they're-
I learned about a stump in the last century too.
They never tell you. They would never say, "Hey, by the way, get a but." If you work in color pencil, get a blending pencil.
Okay, we've got about 5 seconds. I just needed to say thank you very much for coming. It's been a pleasure.
All right.
And that's it. Thank you
That's
very much,
it.
Kelly.
Awesome. I love you.
We're here with artist and designer Peter Sterling Turner. Met Peter initially through the Portsmouth Arts Guild several years ago, and he's been very active with his painting lately, and he also used to host a show out of this same studio called Art View a few years ago. So we have a TV personality here.
Oh, yeah.
So Peter, tell me a little bit about your background and your inspiration in becoming an artist, and how all of this has been evolving for you.
Well, I think I've always been an artist, just different media growing up. I used to like to build birdhouses, and I did a lot of leather work in like in 7th grade. I begged them to let me work in a leather store, and when I went to college, my professor said you should go right into the field. I went right into the design field, and then art was more, tangible, creating something for
You were creating spaces.
exactly.
Yes.
And
And atmosphere and color and all of that good stuff.
and I did do every now and then I would do a sculpture with found objects. I should have brought one. I don't.
You've said you also spent a lot of time in antique stores when you were a kid.
Yes, I did. I spent a lot of time in antique stores, and my mother dragging me around to see lots of stuff. I was lucky enough. I worked for a woman named Michelle Mancini at Full Swing down in Newport, and she introduced me to a gentleman who taught me how to refinish furniture and do antique marquetry repair. And but I kind of have a chemical sensitivity, so I don't like to do that work.
Oh, like in the allergy?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but then I don't. I know this is a TV show, but I don't really like to watch a lot of television, and so I think about 11 years ago, I just started to paint to try to work through some trauma,
Yeah.
and it worked.
Yeah.
Kind of. You can see it's still like so.
Yeah, of course.
It all comes out in my painting, and it's.
Yeah, it's good. It's good to. There are certain things that can't be said in words. I mean, you can do something like talk therapy or confide in friends or work through things on yourself. But there's something about doing a creative act that is nonverbal, nonlinear, that is extremely gratifying and opens you up. And so, yeah, I perfectly understand that.
So I mean, I do as often as I can because
Yep.
you're working and you have other stuff to do in life.
Yeah,
but
you were saying you've been pretty prolific this summer. I mean, you've done 12 pieces.
I have.
You've sold, well, you've moved a couple of pieces, and you're showing in different galleries. You just got accepted into a juried show, and
Did, yeah.
You want to start walking us through your.
And also, what I do is I try to, in order to matriculate in the art field, I've decided I need to take more courses.
Yes.
But I've joined numerous art organizations, and I
Yep.
try to participate when I can.
Sure.
In the beginning, I was just kind of doing stuff that was just like impasto and bright colors and experimentation with texture and color and light. So this one's called Griffins.
Where does the griffin work into that?
They're here.
Okay.
There's a griffin.
Those are your
That's what I saw
creatures?
when I
Yeah,
did it. So
yeah,
there's
yeah.
a little bit of the sponge work coming out that I started to do.
Now, you still use a sponge occasionally. I know that.
yeah. So, and this is when I was the series. I was making my own frames. So this is my own frame that
That's
I did make.
Pretty amazing.
And then in a little bit later, still doing the impasto stuff, but a little more deciding on where color's going and what's going to be in there.
You were just saying that you're not afraid of color.
No.
And we were also talking about how you started with the white background and you built up color on top of that, but you decided to let the white show through. Now, I'm seeing what I would call stippling, the marks that you do, but you said that you did all of this with a palette knife.
This is
and I'm
all
not
done impasto
exactly-
with another canvas and a palette knife. With no sponges on this one.
Okay, another canvas. How would you work that in?
I'd put the color down, and I would take another canvas and push it and move it a little bit.
So that's
and then
kind of like,
pull it.
that's almost like making a monoprint then.
I don't know because I couldn't tell
Okay,
you.
the terminology.
So,
Yeah, so, but I was talking
And
about
that
how.
brings it pulls the paint away, and acrylic it can be very thick, and so
Yes.
it leaves you this stipple and this light and shadow that you
Hence
get
the
from that.
impasto, yes. And to me, the whole thing is pulled together with the oranges and the reds in that one, so.
And so now I'm learning new things like lightest light against darkest dark, but I just
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of words that people use, like
so
you were
kinda,
talking
yeah.
about light and dark,
So-
and people would say, oh, that's
I went from-
chiaroscuro.
I went from there to this kind of a technique. So this is actually a sunset picture that I took from Easton's Beach after a storm.
Yep.
And this is where I did put a lot of color down, I did a lot of sea sponge work, and then I went over it with a dry brush with a lot of white and yellows to give it this
So you put the white on top of the color that you laid down?
correct
Yeah.
with a dry brush. So no acrylic would keep the brush dry. Would never dip it
Right,
in
don't mix it
water.
with media or water.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
And that has a very subtle texture.
Right, it
at
does.
this point.
It does, and there isn't any impasto in this one. This was just sponge work and
Right.
the dry brush.
So the paint's not very thick.
Correct. It's very thin, but it is layers, probably several layers.
Yeah.
Let me think now. So then I'd like to paint on, what did I say? Different materials.
Yeah,
unconventional
unconventional
materials.
objects.
So I found it's very lightweight. I use silver face insulation, and I was trying to do a limited palette and come across the point. So this is actually a view from the Sanford Coval House Marina. And I paint from photographs because acrylic dries so quickly in the sun. And
Right. You can do plein air when you paint outside, and the beauty of that is that with acrylic you lay it down fast and you have a dry painting by the time you get home if you're lucky.
right. And so this is very lightweight.
Also
So
talk about the background, because that insulation that
I actually put a sticker there.
has an aluminum.
Right, it has
surface.
it has aluminum surface. It's silver-faced insulation you
Oh,
would use for
yeah.
your house.
Yeah.
It's great because you can get it free from the construction workers, so they're cut-offs. But if you actually do a large piece, it's very easy to move and use. It's not a heavy, giant canvas. So I have done some of these in large format, like 2 feet by 4 feet wide.
It's also easy to hang for those
Yes.
of us who hang shows.
Correct, and I like to try to leave some silver through because the light hits it.
It makes it all pop.
Yeah.
It gives you that reflective effect that you're looking for.
So then but last October, this is a piece that I did, and this is a piece that just got accepted into a juried show. And this is really indicative of how I kind of paint now, and although I'm moving a little bit because I'm learning oils, but so this is the impasto, and then bring
Yep.
up the colors with the sea sponge.
I'm seeing slashes are from brush.
Yep,
Is that dry
work,
brush?
dry brush to try to get a painted sky in there.
Have you moved away from the palette knife?
There's
or-
no palette knife in here.
Okay.
And then I just put the skyline in from an old photograph that I took in Provincetown.
And the details are that's pretty meticulous brushwork you got happening there.
Believe it or not, I actually traced that in from my printed photograph, to be honest. So,
That's okay.
that's what I was told. Yeah.
I was
So,
asking you if you would share your secrets, and now you have.
Unfortunately, I meant to bring a piece that was half finished, and I forgot to bring it at the last minute.
Well, if we had more time, I'd have you do a demonstration.
So then I wanted to think outside the box and do something that I called surreal. I don't know if anyone would really call this surrealism, but this is on a conventional material. It's medium density fiberboard photographic mount quality that someone gave me.
Which is a
Yeah.
nice, dense, and
Yeah.
the surface is very smooth, I would imagine.
And it's very hard. I'm very
Yes.
rough with my canvases sometimes. So even if I paint on canvas, I put a piece of board behind it to handle my
So
heavy
if
hand.
there's no tooth on it, did you have any trouble getting the paint to stick?
The paint is great on this.
Okay.
The paint is great.
Fabulous.
I actually sponge worked, primed it with spray paint, coated spray paint, and then I did the sponge work. I actually put a piece of tape down for this. Okay, I drew the figures,
Yep.
cut them out on a piece of paper, taped them down, and so that I'd cut it out on blue tape and put it down so that I could have that. And then I put these in. The stipple is from the other end of the paintbrush. That's it.
So you dip the end of the paintbrush in and just
And
dropped
this is supposed to be the figure with the foot and the legs and the hip and the torso in the landscape. And there's another one here kind of laying on the stomach. And I did another piece about half this size, and I donated that to the 12 by 12 at Provincetown Art Association Museum, and that sold, which was exciting.
Very
Our
nice.
Art is sold and
Now,
recognized.
what's the title of this piece?
This is Beach Day.
Okay.
And actually, this is kind of, from memory, a vision that you get when you cross the moors in Provincetown and you just are about to go up over those dunes and get to the beach, because you can see the sky.
seagrass and all of that good
and
stuff.
the water. Yeah. And so and of course, it's unconventional, so you hang it weird. These are just poster hangers.
Oh, nice.
And a wire.
Yeah, that's always
So-
important.
Professional gallery might not accept it, but
I find a lot of artists have a hard time figuring out how to hang their work, so I'm glad you
then-
showed that.
when I go away, I try to paint. So I just had some nice laser printer paper that I grabbed and a little kit of watercolor. So I did these, a little study. This one probably I spent the most time on, and you can tell the difference in the art. This I spent about a half an hour on.
Sure.
This is a little rowboat called Dark Star that sits in Provincetown Harbor. And I do a lot of New England stuff. Whoop. So you can see the difference between 20 and 10.
Yes.
There's a lot of, but I'm going to continue this series, and go to and do. I think I want to do. I think about 4 or 5 more, because I just as a learning technique and try to do a finer line
It would make a nice sequence mounted on a board, maybe.
and get the detail a little more.
The difference, just the difference would be interesting to see side by side.
Yeah. So I take a lot of photographs and I paint from photographs a lot. Have done plein air. I enjoy it, but like I said, I need to learn more light and shadow and stuff like that. So this is a piece that I did from a photograph interpretation, and I was trying to be monochromatic. So
Very
there's
minimal. I mean,
2
it's
blacks,
just,
2 grays,
It almost looks
and white.
like a heart monitor, if you think
Yes,
about it, the abstract.
Yeah, I thought about that also. Yeah, that thing. So and then I just put I drilled it, and I put a plate hanger on it so that it actually, when you mount it,
Ha! That
you
is
mount
unusual.
it sets out from the wall. It's kind of cool looking.
Yeah, that is good.
And so this is a piece that just sold. I have to ship it out. I just did. I wanted to bring it and show it
Now,
on the
that's
show.
regular plywood, right?
That is just regular
Yep.
plywood. I sand it.
Yep.
And then this is another one that I did. This is more of a. I actually had a piece.
Put it on?
I had it all sketched out of Flo's Clam Shack, and I decided that I didn't want to do it. So I went over it again with the sponge work, and then I did.
Now, this is Flo's in
and
Portsmouth.
this is brushwork, right? Correct. And so then this is, and just the 3 colors on top of the purple.
You got that pattern going again, too.
Yeah, and then I'm doing some more series of these where they're juxtaposed, where there's different ones, and I really like the catamarans. I want to go find some cats and get some pictures of them larger.
You could do a panorama of a whole harbor.
Yeah, it's a matter of the time. A lot of stuff takes more time. Like these were fairly simple.
Sure.
Although they did take time. You've got to cut the board, sand the board, prime it,
Yeah.
decide what you're going to put, paint it. I use tape a lot.
To mask.
And I find that the artwork I have in my house just, without even realizing it, it inspires you. One of my favorite pieces has a big bar, a blank bar across it, and I just started to do that myself, without
It
even
provides
realizing.
stability.
There's, I have a lot of artist friends, so I try to make sure I support them and have some of their work in my house. So at this moment right now, what I'd like to do is I want to learn white line woodblock, and then I want to learn more technique for oils and acrylics, because I'd like to be able to get better. I mean, you know,
Absolutely. The more you do, the more you learn, the more you can do, and it makes your brain bigger.
So my technique now is also kind of wasteful. I waste a lot of art,
Well,
of paint. You know.
We've just kind of run out of time. I
okay.
really appreciate you coming. Thank you for taking time to share this with us.
Thank you for having me.
It's really good.
Appreciate it.
Thanks again for watching another episode of Art Matters with Wayne Quackenbush.
The natives are restless, they vanish in the spear and Jacksons. Their primitive chants are thinly disguised as national anthems.